From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les-Levine, it is a Thursday night. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les-Levine into our 24th consecutive season, seen live, on most nights. We are on tape, but taping it the day of, right here on cleveland.com. What a cast of characters we have here. To my far right, Bud Shaw, WKYC.com. Hello, Mr. Shaw.
Hello, Les. If it's week 17 of an NFL season, that must mean we're talking about what?
A new coach, I would think. Andy-Baskin, who I haven't seen since this morning. We did 4 hours of radio, 92.3 The Fan. It's going to sound so stupid. How are you, Andy?
How are you, Les? You know, I drive less to work because we're neighbors. So I drove to work. Today he told me I was driving too fast.
Well, I've seen him drive. Somebody needs to.
That's true.
Thank you. All right, forget these guys. Our special guest, Mike-Masetta. Wow, it's Nature Stone. Hello, Michael. How are you? Your family here watching you?
Everybody's here watching me. It's great.
They don't want you to.
It's an honor to be here.
They don't want you to be too good tonight because they need you at the office tomorrow morning.
That's right. That's right. I'll make sure I lower everybody's expectations.
There you go, Mike-Masetta, who's been terrific with us. He's been with us maybe 4 years, I think, and we appreciate him and his family very, very much. All right, let's get it started. Bud, you sort of started it out. You said if it's week 17 of the NFL season, that means.
Yeah, here we are again. Now, whether this is as legitimate a situation as last year where we knew they were going to replace Greg Williams even, maybe that's still up in the air in some people's minds, but I think they're going to give serious consideration to making a move.
All right, Andy, you and I did radio, as I said, a couple of days ago, plus today. It's pretty hard to find reasons why you should keep him other than, well, it's too many changes here. We need some stability. That's the only legitimate argument I get. What else do you get?
It's just continuity. I mean, that's the only reason why, Les, because people are saying we're tired of changing coaches and we don't want to do this anymore. And let's see what he's got. And is it really his fault? Is it baker-mayfield's fault? Is it the offensive line's fault? Is it the fact that your top defensive player is out for the season for suspension? So you're trying to find little different things along the way. But at the end of the day, it just feels like the spirit has left the room and we're looking for another head coach.
Wouldn't it be something, though, if they replace the head coach and Mayfield has this similar year next year, and then you start to think maybe it was the quarterback and not the head coach?
I want to talk about that in a minute. We'll bring Mike-Masetta back. Mike is a fan and a longtime fan of the Cleveland Browns. What are you thinking on this whole situation with the coaching, the situation with Freddie-Kitchens?
Well, it was a strange situation because I thought Freddie was going to do a much better job given what happened with the Browns last year going into this year, but there's so many things that have happened beyond just the X's and O's on the field. There's a lot of arguments that are happening on the sidelines and confusion and things like that. It just does not look like he was ready to be a head coach. So I don't know where to go with this. As a fan, I want a head coach to be able to control the team and run the team effectively. But he's out there trying to do that along with also trying to run the offense. And that's where I think it gets a little convoluted.
Yeah. By the way, for the people here at Buffalo Wild Wings, we appreciate you coming out. If you have anything you want to say, you can line up behind Mike, and we'll get you on, and we'll respond to what you have to say.
But if you don't say it right, you're going to have Nature Stone shoes, right?
Yes, that's correct. Sure. All right. So help me out here. Mike pointed out problems with the sideline demeanor, not undisciplined, terribly undisciplined, almost unheard of in the NFL. Strange play calling, strange strategy. Those things clearly you blame on the coach, correct?
Les, and Bud, I look at this and I just kind of say to myself, I don't know how much of the discipline is on Freddie. We all assume that it's on Freddie, all of it. But we knew some of the things we were going to get with Odell-beckham-jr. You shouldn't be surprised that he'll wear a sticker and rip the Oakley sticker off the side of his helmet, because that's who he is. And I don't know that there's any coach that's going to change him on that. You knew what you were buying. It's all caveat emptor with him and some of the other situations. I don't know if he's a player's coach or if he's a coach who's lost control and doesn't have the control of the players. And maybe that's the bigger problem. There's so many variables in the situation that it leaves it convoluted to whether he's coming back or not. And still, I feel like he's not going to be here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's more damning to Freddie-Kitchens that Arizona can score a touchdown kickoff and they can get a delay of game penalty on the first play after a kickoff.
Right.
It's those kinds of things where they don't get lined up right. where Mayfield's looking to the sidelines, gesturing because he wants the play call and it's not come in yet. I mean, those were things that were happening in the beginning of the year, but my understanding is that there's been even more instances, not more, but there have been further instances.
Well, people say, what's the problem with that? If they get the play in. If they get it in late, that takes away any chance that Baker Mayfield has to call an audible.
Yeah, and I think the defenses this year have done a lot to try to disguise what they're doing with him, which should mean that he needs even more time at the line of scrimmage to figure out what's going on. He doesn't need that chaos that he's had to deal with. Now, some of it's got to be on him. I mean, he's not been as accurate. I don't know if his fundamentals have slipped. I'm not sure what it is, but I thought he was the most accurate rookie quarterback I'd seen in years last year. And this year, I haven't seen that at all.
I go back to the very first game against Tennessee when he was sacked in the end zone for the safety. It was at that point I felt like we didn't see the same confidence, and I was like, well, maybe it's one or two plays. I haven't seen it all year.
No, but how is part of it that he didn't have confidence in his line, that he felt maybe he was going to get hit at any moment and get injured actually, or not get the playoff correctly?
I agree. I mean, maybe it's all confidence. I wonder how much of Baker Mayfield's issues are between his ears. Like, how many times have we seen him get kind of frustrated and on a 3rd and 1 or a 3rd and 2 fire the ball at 100 miles an hour right down the middle of the field? That, to me, just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And the play call on the pitch forward, incomplete, if I never see that play again, I'll be the happiest guy ever.
It's the Metcalf up the middle of this era.
Of the odds.
Yes.
All right, Bud Shaw, Andy Baskin, Mike Masetta with us. We're at the Buffalo Wild Wings on Harvard Road at I-271. Bud, you alluded to it, but you didn't come out and say it. Last year was a honeymoon period for Baker Mayfield. This year, something clearly changed. And Andy and I were doing radio today, and 99% of the calls were against Baker Mayfield, which totally shocked me that honeymoon period has changed so quickly.
Are they against him, or are they just tired of seeing those commercials after he's playing badly for
Well, that doesn't help
stretch?
him.
Yeah.
That doesn't help. It helps his pocketbook. But
The other thing is, I don't know if they're against him. And I think they all seem to want to see him back for another season, but I don't think people are blaming Baker Mayfield for some of the problems this year. They're just not blaming him for all the problems, and I don't think that they're done with Baker Mayfield yet.
Yeah.
I still think there's hope for Baker.
I agree with that. I heard an interesting question on 92.3 as I was driving here. It was put to Ross Tucker, and it was he was asked to rank the projected quarterbacks in this division next year, and he said, assuming Roethlisberger's back, Lamar Jackson,
Right.
Baker, and Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, and Ross, basically said he would pick Mayfield third now.
over who?
Over Burrow, because he's a
Okay.
rookie, but he didn't feel like there was a big difference between those two guys potentially.
Right.
And that tells you a lot about Joe Burrow, but also about the kind of year Mayfield's had.
Let's go back to Mike Masetta. Mike, the quarterback situation. You happy or unhappy with Baker Mayfield?
I am happy with Baker Mayfield. I think he's an excellent quarterback. I think that this year was a difficult year for him. If you watched how he played when they were calling the short passing game, he was very accurate, very consistent, did very well. When they started to go down the field more, he would get happy feet, and I think a lot of that had to do with his offensive line and the struggles that they had. Dorsey traded Zeitler early in the year. He got Odell-Beckham in return for him, but the quarterback needs that offensive line, that front, and I don't think he had the confidence in his offensive line. And then Kitchens with the play calling down the field. He would do that consistently, and it would throw, I think, the whole offense off, because that short passing game and the running game worked very, very well, and then he would just go to this deep 20-yard downfield passing game, and when it wasn't there, he wouldn't correct it. He wouldn't change anything. He would just stick with it the entire time, and I think that was frustrating for me as a fan, and I'd like to see Baker get back to what he did well last year and get away from all these trick plays and downfield passes and get more to the basic fundamentals of football.
All right, that's Mike Masetta from Nature's Stone. Andy Baskin, 92.3 The Fan, is with us. Bud Shaw from WKYC.com. And we're at Buffalo Wild Wings on Harvard Road in Warrensville. The mayor, Where's the mayor? Is he here?
Brad Sellers. No, I
Brad
think
Sellers.
He's got one.
If you see a guy 7'2", that's the mayor.
He's writing pardons today.
Yeah. All right. We'll come back in a moment. More sports and Les-Levine. This portion brought to you by the Ohio Lottery. You can also follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine. We'll come back. We'll do more. More Sports and Les-Levine continues right here on cleveland.com.
Casino now has sports betting. Use one of the 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet. Then watch your favorite games on our new HD televisions or visit our new sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had two choices. I was accepted into a four-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Welcome back to Buffalo Wild Wings on Harvard Road at I-271, More Sports and Les-Levine, exclusively on cleveland.com. Mike Masetta is with us from Nature Stone. Andy-baskin, who's going to have Nature Stone soon, right?
Yeah, why not? Let's do it. Mike, you
Get
ready?
it.
I need an estimate.
Get it in by tonight if you can.
Okay.
Andy-baskin from 92.3 The Fan and Bud Shaw from WKYC.com. And for you people here in the audience, we got a good turnout. If you want to come up and say something on the air, ask us a question or make a comment, we'd be more than happy to take care of it. First segment, we talked about the quarterback situation and the coaching situation. I want to get back to that, to the quarterback situation. Andy, did you see any improvement or was there total regression?
I think the things that we saw to Baker-Mayfield that were important was the rolls right. And I'm just using one example where in the beginning of the season where we saw him continue to roll right, that was like the big thing. All of a sudden he quit doing it. And there were some things there that I saw improvement on. I saw him at least learn and listen and try to mature and emerge in some situations. But I think he's digressed in those pressure situations. When you look at his fourth quarter numbers, they're not very good, and he's not very good in the high pressure situations to win you games when you have the opportunity to do that. So that's something that he's going to have to work on in the offseason, and maybe that has to do with chemistry with wide receivers. That also could have something to do with play calling.
Well, play calling and the fact that he was supposedly so close to Freddie-Kitchens last year, and Kitchens obviously has other duties to perform.
That's true too. There are a lot of things that I saw that I didn't like this year, throwing behind, over the head, again, targeting the ball right down the middle when it seemed like he was upset, not looking for the secondary receiver and just kind of focusing on the same play that was called in. Now, whether he's doing that because the coaching staff is just saying, hey, run the damn plays that we're calling,
right, or
because he doesn't have the focus, that's what we don't know the answer to.
All right, Bud, you don't seem as concerned about, I don't believe, as concerned about Mayfield as Andy does. But, and I'm sort of on his side here, but I did see those high throws that turn into interceptions. The touchdown to interception ratio is horrible. But I think the way the NFL is playing now, the smaller quarterback is not at such a bad position as he might have been before.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Listen, far be it for a sports writer to say anything about anybody's body, but I thought he looked heavy when he came into camp.
Right.
And I didn't see him use his legs the way he used his legs last year until later in this season when he would have a 3rd and 4 or 5. There were a couple of times I think he scored a touchdown against Miami or Cincinnati that way, where he scrambled a little bit. You know, instead of, like Andy said, firing the ball down the middle of the field on 3rd and 4 when he doesn't know if a guy's going to be open or not. I saw him start to use his legs a little bit and pick up a few first downs. But other than that, I haven't seen a lot of stuff, any, you know, points that I would look at and say, yeah, he's much better in this area than he was last year.
All right, what about the Odell-Beckham factor?
I think it's a factor. I mean, Mike points out this throwing downfield. I mean, it's nice to be able to do that to stretch the field, but I think he has felt the pressure all year long to get the ball to Odell Beckham because of who Odell Beckham is. And I frankly think they would be as good offensively next year without Odell Beckham.
How about the fact that they didn't trade him for 1 year? They traded him for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I don't suspect that they'll make a change. I really don't. But I'm just saying that they seemed like they knew they had a little bit more identity last year, in that they wanted to run Chubb. They used Chubb more in situations where I thought he should have got the ball. Like he leads the league in yards, and I think is right at the top of the league in carries last. So it's not like he's not getting the ball. It's just that on 3rd and 2, Freddie seems more intent on impressing everybody with his creativity than he does running a play that's going to pick up a first down. I don't understand it.
Do you think there's an actual playbook, or is there because if there is, we got to go in and find it and tear out the page that has the shovel pass.
Well, I did my my reader column the other day. You said it, and one of the guys sent a thing in and said, if Freddie does let go, the one thing they won't be telling him is turn in your playbook, because nobody wants to see these plays again next year.
No, they sure don't. Back to Mike Masetta from Nature Stone. Mike, you see Baker Mayfield, you see the running game. There are some great things. What I don't understand is the line play where you can have the leading rusher with the same line that can't block for the passer. What's that all about?
Well, there are lines that block very well in one aspect but not the other. It's not uncommon for a line to be very good in the passing game or very good in the running game, but not necessarily very good at both. And so, you look at the 49ers, for example, they have a line that blocks very well in the running game. The Browns have a line that's obviously blocking very well in the running game, but they're not doing as good of a job in the passing game. The other thing, too, is he lost 2 of his primary targets for those 3rd down type plays in Rashard Higgins and Njoku. Njoku is a big-time tight end who is ideal for those 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4 type situations, as well as down around the goal line. And Higgins was his go-to wide receiver.
Right.
I mean, as much as Landry was, Higgins was even more.
All right, so Mike makes a great point. And Andy, I know you were told that Njoku was ready to play again a couple of weeks ago, right?
He sat right down with us when we were at Feed the Need, and he's like, I'm ready to go right now.
Right.
And he's been ready to go. Freddie says he doesn't have a doghouse, but he does have a doghouse. And
Well, he wears the dog pound sweatshirt.
that's true. He's got a pound, but he doesn't have a house inside the pound.
Well, I was told that there was an exchange between Njoku and Freddie when Njoku failed to secure that ball against the Bengals that got called an interception. Do you remember that
Yes.
play? Whether it was a bad call or not, Freddie wasn't happy that Njoku didn't come down and keep the ball. And he said something to him about it, and Njoku had a response that I can't repeat right now.
Right.
So it seemed odd to me that a week after that, we find out that he's not going to. He's a healthy scratch. Now, Freddie has played guys that he's gotten in disputes with on the sideline all year. Does he apply the same standards to Njoku than he does Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry?
And that's a great point, because I think when this thing's all said and done, and if Freddie doesn't have his job come Tuesday, is he going to say, did I cut my nose off to spite my face with not only Njoku but Higgins as well? And it's just, I mean, we all know what Higgins did last year for Mayfield. It's mind-boggling to me, no matter what he may have said or done, or if there was an issue with him not wanting to go back on the field. That's what popular thought is. Now I don't know if that's 100% true to you.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Okay.
I know it supposedly was late in one of the games.
Right.
And I don't know.
Again, that's what we had heard, but again, there's nothing 100% factual about that, and at this point it's still myth and legend. But even if it's myth or legend, let's assume that it was true that happened and he didn't want to play him. Is that worth not giving your quarterback a guy that he had a good connection and good chemistry with last year, that also not only made Baker Mayfield successful, but made him successful too? And to put guys in the doghouse for more than a week, and just it doesn't make any sense to me.
No, but the question I have then is, he must have had pretty good job security, although we don't think he did, because if he didn't have job security, he'd put those guys in quickly, because those guys gave him a better chance to win.
Well, I mean, to your point about Higgins, what's the last thing Higgins did? Catch a touchdown pass to win a game, and then he disappears again. You know, there's been oddities all year like that. I mean, they're not all Freddie related. You know, Jannard Avery was a good pass rusher last year, and suddenly he wasn't in the picture at all. And then they lose Myles Garrett. And could they use a pass rusher right now? Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen them put any pressure on quarterbacks for a couple since Garrett's been gone.
All right, we are at Buffalo Wild Wings on Harvard Road at I-271, More Sports and Les-Levine, and its 24th consecutive year right here on cleveland.com. Mike-Masetta from Nature Stone is here, Andy-Baskin, 92.3 The Fan, and Bud Shaw from WKYC.com, an all-star performer, all three of them. We'll put our all-star team up against
We
anybody.
just don't know what league we're in.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm killing it in Little League right now.
California Penal, I believe.
Yes, there you go.
All right, we'll come back in a moment. We'll talk to some people here at Buffalo Wild Wings, and we'll continue to talk to you. More Sports and Les-Levine continues. Northeast Factory Direct, 3 great locations, east and west, and also in the south. That's Macedonia. You're going to get the same furniture you're going to get anywhere in this town, the big box stores, except for one thing. You're going to pay half price or less, because Alex started out in one piece of furniture in one garage in Lakewood. His 20 years later turned it into one of the great businesses in all of Northeast Ohio. Northfield Park is not too far from us. It's the home for live and simulcast racing. Go to Northfield Park. It's free admission, free parking every day. Live racing throughout the week at Northfield Park. Back in a moment from Buffalo Wild Wings in Mooresville Heights. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Get your basement ready for the holidays.
There was moisture in the basement. It ruined the carpeting. The smell was terrible. We didn't feel safe in our own basement, and that's when we called Nature Stone.
And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, you will never have to replace your basement flooring again. For a limited time, get Nature Stone installed now and pay nothing until next year. Payments as low as $99 a month. No interest, no down payment. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
National Holidays expert Mary here with a list of holidays you won't want to miss. Get your Ohio Lottery Merry Million scratch-offs for National Donut Day, National Have a Party with Your Bear Day, Pickle Day, National Unique Talent Day, Take a Hike Day, and America's favorite, National Jukebox Day. Every day is a reason to celebrate. Grab a Merry Millions and other Ohio Lottery holiday scratch-offs today.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Welcome back. More Sports and Les-Levine exclusively from Buffalo Wild Wings on Harvard Road at I-271. We'll reverse the order of introductions. Bud Shaw on my far right. I don't know if that means politically. Are you on the far right?
I'm in the middle.
In the middle.
That's a good answer.
Well, we had to find a chair for you, and we didn't ask for political affiliations. But in the middle is Andy Baskin of 92.3 The Fan, and Mike-Masetta is here from Nature Stone, who's been with us 4 or 5 years now, and we appreciate his participation, allowing the show to continue on. For you people in the audience out here, we'd love to have you come up and talk at Mike's mic. How about that?
How about your Mike flag? That is truly impressive. I've never seen the
The
MS and
MS and LL?
Yes.
All right. I see Mr. Gullible is coming up to say something. We'll get him in a minute as they exchange mics. You know what they ought to do when we were kids with the baseball bat and you'd choose up a little bit?
Oh, yeah.
We could do that.
Inca Pink, a bottle of Inca.
This
You
is
put everybody's tennis shoe in the middle and go like this.
Ooh.
Never did that?
No.
Oh, dude.
No.
Am I speaking of
By the way,
know that.
I don't mean to make fun of my good friend Bud Shaw.
Yes.
But
But
he's
you don't know
going
this
to.
story.
Oh, good. I want to hear
He
this.
was a great high school pitcher.
No, that first of
Excuse
all,
me, he
this
was a
is loosely
pitcher.
based on truth already.
Right. He was a pitcher in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And his claim to fame, well, he's got two claims to fame. I'll just give you one of them, is he gave up consecutive home runs in the first inning on 2 pitches to identical twins.
That's not easy to do.
That's excellent.
That was next gen stats.
That's
there.
That's perfecto.
That was. I was very popular over the Satilli house that
All
summer.
right, let's bring in one of our exclusive participants and contributors to How Come Quickies. I don't believe this is his real name, but we call him Mr. Gullible. That's not your
That sounds like a
God-given
real
name,
name,
is it?
yeah.
No, my friends call me Gully.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. What's on you?
Well,
Can
I
you
hate-
stop rooting for Clemson, please? Can you
No.
stop, please?
I'm not.
Quit wearing your Clemson colors.
Since
Wow. All right, Mr. Gullible. First of all, how did you get the name?
you, Les.
I gave it to you?
Yes.
I
made
thought
it
you would know that, Les.
Back in the old WHK days,
Yeah.
in 1995,
Right.
the fabulous Frank Derry was on with you. You guys said something about Art Modell. I said, yeah, exactly right. And you both started laughing with me, not at me, I'm sure.
Never.
And Frank Derry said, this guy, he'll believe anything. And you said, you're so gullible. From now on, when you call, you have to identify yourself as
Well,
Mr.
you made a mistake. It was Matt Derry, not Frank Derry.
No, Frank. It was Frank.
Frank
That-
could have been on it.
Yeah, he was.
Could very well be. All right, what's on your mind tonight?
Alleged mine. I'd like to turn the calendar ahead 91 days to the Indians' home opener. And I am pretty optimistic about Cesar-Hernandez as a stopgap second baseman, that the starting pitching is strong. I think the outfield is very questionable and weak. I just heard that the White Sox signed Edwin Encarnacion.
Yeah.
Do you guys see a 3-team race between the White Sox, Twins, and Indians, and do you think the Indians can keep pace? And can I get a quickie in?
Yeah, give me the quickie first before we throw you out.
I'll do the one I did on the radio at 92.3 The Fan the other day. How come, if at first you don't succeed, skydiving is not for you?
But you're the
I
grader.
remind you that I thought that was the quick
What do you give
the
him?
other day. But
I'm giving him a 9.0.
9.0.
Yeah.
That's pretty good under Bud's situation.
Yeah.
All right, the Indians. Can you see a 3-team race?
Absolutely, I can.
Oh, you think Kansas City will be that good?
No, I think Chicago is for.
Chicago's
the
they're
one
loaded.
team that the Indians had a losing record against
Yeah.
last year. Now I know that's not a big sample size, but I think they're a good young team, and I think they've added some real important parts.
my question for you then is, how many home runs will Edwin have against the Indians?
18 games. How many home runs?
36.
That's a good answer. I said 37.
First of all, they should have signed him last year anyway to keep him here. He still had it with him with the Yankees, and that's the kind of guy they needed.
Well, yeah, at what price? I think he signed in
12
Chicago
million.
for 12.
Right.
Isn't that right? And when they signed him, he was a $20 million player, right? 3
Yeah.
years, 60 mil.
Right.
So I guess you got to decide what you're gonna, what the market is.
Is the team complete right now?
No, I mean, what Gully just said, my good friend
It's
Gully.
Mr. Gully.
I think their outfield is still just like it was. It's like feels like a 4A outfield. You know, it just doesn't have that major league fiber.
Okay, so let's go this way. Pitching, grade them A through E. A through E. Starting pitching.
Starting pitching, I would say without Kluber right now,
Yeah.
I would say a B.
All right, a B. Starting
plus.
pitching. Relief pitching.
I don't know. Relief pitching to me every year is the same thing.
Yeah.
You either
I'd call it a C every year because I have no idea.
Yeah,
it either shows up or doesn't.
it's a great point. All right, so that's the relief pitching. How about the infield defense? I think they're as good as anybody defensively.
They should be all right. I don't know why they wouldn't be.
No.
I mean, unless I don't. I mean, you know what you got at second now, what you brought
Right,
in.
yeah.
So, do you feel stronger at second base now with the move?
I was a Kipnis guy, but I saw it was time at that dollar figure to let him go.
Then it can't. I don't think it's going to be any worse than it was. I think it's going to be
He
better.
won't hit as many homers as Kipnis did.
Okay.
All right, so that's we're talking defense now. Offense, the offensive infield. You got Lindor, who's as good as there is.
If
right?
he's here.
If he's here.
We assume now that he's going to be. Is that a fair assumption?
I do. Do you?
Yeah.
You do? Do you?
I think he'll still be here. I'm surprised that Los Angeles didn't. You know what you forget is if they didn't meet the asking price, you forget they'd only get two years of control on him. It's not like they'd give up their best two guys in the minors and only get 2 years out of Francisco-Lindor. But any team he's on at shortstop in the leadoff spot is a pretty good team right there.
I just know when he's a free agent, I just don't. New York, if they want him, if the Yankees want him, they're going to have to overpay him because I don't think he wants to go to New York. I think he wants to head west eventually.
Didn't Los Angeles seem like the perfect place for him?
Yeah, but the
Dodgers?
Indians could. Yeah, I do think it does. And you know what? Anywhere in the National League sounds good to me. I do not want to see him for 18 games a season, which I don't think anybody other than Chicago would be willing to put that kind of money out for him. But I think eventually he ends up out west.
Who's going to be? What's the outfield? You got Mercado in center. Then what do you have?
Good
I mean,
question.
could Franmil Reyes actually play left field for more than 4 games? No, half a season.
4 innings.
I do like him though.
He's got to be able to catch.
How do you not
He's
like
got to
him?
be able to catch a routine fly ball, doesn't
So
he?
let's work on that in spring training and make it so he can do that.
Okay. So right field still up.
How can a guy make it to the bigs and not be able to catch a fly ball? Help me.
Bad parenting?
I don't know.
I don't know. That's about it. I don't know. How else can you? I don't think it's.
Goes back to the days of Glen Allen Hill, right?
Yeah,
Like
that's true.
sometimes you don't have to be just big and immobile to be a bad outfielder.
Manny wasn't exactly the greatest outfielder either, but
Yeah, but if you have what Manny had around him, you almost didn't care.
that's true. That's a good point.
You know, I don't know how people feel. You guys were on radio, so maybe you got a better feel of what the reaction was to the Kluber deal. I didn't hear a lot of outrage.
Bag of balls is what I heard.
I didn't hear a lot of outrage, and maybe that's because he only made 7 starts last year. Maybe it's because people now are just so numb to the idea that they're going to get rid of people when they start making big money.
Does the loss of Mr. Sherman, the investor, does that bother you as far as what the Indians will do financially?
Yeah. I mean,
we didn't know this at the time. We knew he joined in as a minority owner, but apparently he did that with full intent to purchase the team.
Yeah, I don't know about the finances of that team, and half of us don't, because we see what the teams really want us to see when it comes to their profits.
Sure.
You know, and a lot of them. This has been the players' argument all along, is that that ownership has always cried poor in certain markets, and nobody's ever really gone out of business owning a baseball team. Have they?
Yes.
Wait, did Art Modell own a baseball team?
Well, he did it twice just to make sure you knew.
I thought the key to that story is more the crack in the armor that maybe the Dolans would be willing to sell the entire team at some point. Like, I have never really felt like they were willing to. And I also say be careful what you wish for, because the Dolans are from here. Their organization has been the most consistent and stable and winning franchise here, with the exception of that championship. The Cavs, I don't know how they did that. But,
Andy, you talk to fans every day.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to get them to talk baseball.
It is almost impossible. That is true.
So what do you do? Just wait till something happens and let them respond, or do you say we're going to try to force the issue on phone calls?
I don't think that it's not that they don't want to talk about baseball less. I think that the way the Indians have built this team, it's that you don't have the personalities that the team had in the 90s. And I think we were extremely spoiled by those personalities. I was just watching the dynasty that almost was the other night on MLB Network, and I was in tears watching the Miami game again, or Florida as they were at the time, and hearing Grover say, who was on our show last week too, saying that he's never gone back and watched that game.
Do you believe that?
Yeah, I totally
do too.
believe. Yeah, I don't think Grover doesn't lie about stuff like that. So I don't know that Grover lies about anything. I don't know that I've ever had a situation where he's ever said anything that I didn't believe. Some of it's personality based. I really think so, and that Francisco-Lindor is fun and exciting, but we don't have the personalities. And say what you will about things that happen off the field that normally they're bad. The Indians don't have that.
Similarly to you watching that, I just finished the Jim Ingram book on Mike
Grover.
And you forget, number one, how good they were, and Grover didn't get enough credit for handling. He didn't just fill out a lineup card and say, "Go ahead, Albert, hit the ball." There's a lot of stuff going. It's almost like like trying to manage Michael Jordan in a basketball game. Sure, he's the best player ever, maybe, and yet it's almost impossible to put a managerial or a coaching staff together that can handle it.
So what you're saying is Yasiel Puig really needed to act up more after
We
he
needed
came
more
here.
Yasiel Puig. Yeah, we needed more Puig.
We didn't get the Yasiel Puig we'd heard about.
Why
by
couldn't he have
then.
had a fight or two with us?
Yeah.
We're
Let's
just
go
way
back.
too happy.
Let's go back to Mike's Mike over here. Who's this?
Mitch from Kent. How you doing?
Hey, Mitch. How are you?
Good. How you doing? We go way back to 38th Street and half of Canton. So
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
A bit strong signal we had on WHK.
First of all, how about Kent State? A little round of applause
Yeah,
for
how
that.
Hey,
about
Kent
that
State.
Flashes, first ever bowl
First
win.
one ever. They've been to 4 bowl games, I believe, right?
Refrigerator,
And,
Tangerine. What was the one a couple years ago they just went to? The other one, some kind of website.
Was it the Rose Bowl?
Buy.com, is that what it was? Something like that?
The .com bowls,
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
it was a .com bowl.
yeah.
I know my Kent history, thank you.
Wow.
I'm in.
Let's go back to the Browns. Do you think the schedule was in their heads? I'm not. You're not only supposed to play. You have to play. But say the schedule was reversed, and they had those easier teams at the front end of the schedule, and those primetime games towards the back end. Do you think that would have made any difference at all?
I feel strongly both ways.
No, I do, in fact, think it would have helped because I think the way the schedule broke, and it's not an excuse for what happened, but I think it made Kitchens' job harder. Like, he comes out and he loses by 30 the first game. And then he has that, a good game in Baltimore, and people think that's it. And then he loses to. So I think that if it had been reversed and they had been able to start out with Miami and Cincinnati, and maybe the team starts to look at him and think, hey, this guy, we might be onto something here. Because it always felt to me like that team, there was just a disconnection between him and this team this year. And I might be wrong about it, but that's the vibe.
I felt a little different about that because if they could have snuck out a win or two in the beginning of first 5-6 games, then
Well, they did, though. They were 2-2.
Well, if they could have been 4-2 against the tougher part of the schedule, then you got the easy guys coming in, and you should beat them and build a little distance between you and the rest of the.
I think if you go back,
division.
you go back and look at last year, the teams that Baker Mayfield beat to have those records, the schedule was too light. I think if you go back to the beginning of the schedule this year, with the exception of the Jets, it was too heavy, and that's another reason why I think there are a lot of question marks about this team. I don't know what we really saw.
They didn't beat a team with a winning record last year when they were going 5-3 to finish the season. You're right about that. Now, they played well against Baltimore at the end, but you're right, they didn't. They maybe got a false sense of accomplishment. And, Baker Mayfield told, was it Aaron Andrews?
Yes.
At one point this year that he felt like maybe the team thought it was going to be easier than it was.
Let's go back to Mitch. Mitch, you want to follow up on anything?
Well, I was just going to say, I think, next year, we think it'll get maybe 2 primetime next year because the NFL is going to rethink this one, I think,
Sure.
right?
Oh,
yeah.
Didn't they do that after we had the 10-win season,
but,
too?
but
We
I
had
think
5 nationally televised
I think-
games that next year.
I think we'd all agree, though, that from what teams are supposed to be at the beginning of the season are not totally different, but very different at the middle of the season.
I don't know. With the exception of New England, I don't know what to expect out of anybody. San Francisco, you look at the injuries they had last year, and then all of a sudden we're like, going into the season, everybody had the Niners as a win.
Yeah.
Everybody had the Niners as a win.
They did.
And that was one of the reasons that Shanahan had on his list, because you're going to think you're going to beat us.
All right,
and
thanks
you're
to
actually
Mitch
not
from
going
Kent.
to.
Thanks, Mitch, for making the drive up here. We appreciate it very much. We're at Buffalo Wild Wings in Warrensville Heights, I-271 and Chagrin. And coming up more from here, Bud Shaw, Andy Baskin, Mike-Masetta here. Tri-C, go to them and explore your future with over 1,000 programs at tric.edu.com. Presque Isle promo, they've got sports betting now on the games. If you want to bet the Ohio State game, you can do that. Andy, you know what the spread is?
2.
2, Ohio State, an underdog.
I
2
knew that
points.
way too fast, didn't I?
Yes, you did. Tomorrow night, Dave Bacon will explore all of the bowl games, including that. But Presque Isle just 90 minutes from downtown Cleveland in Erie, Pennsylvania. We'll come back in a moment. More Sports and Les-levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had 2 choices. I was accepted into a 4-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohio-lottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at smiley1.com.
This portion of More Sports and Les-levine brought to you by Northeast Factory Direct, 3 locations plus the great website at northeastfactorydirect.com. We are at Buffalo Wild Wings on Harvard at I-271. Bud Shaw with us, WKYC.com. Andy Baskin, 92.3, and Mike Masetta. Wow, it's Nature Stone. I love that.
Do you have to say wow every time? Is that part of the deal?
No,
wow. Okay.
No, almost everything. Only when I can remember to do that.
Okay.
Wow. Gary, you know Gary, we played golf with him.
I know Gary, yes.
He said, in talking about Francisco-Lindor, if they should trade him or not, and he said, what would Bill Belichick do? And the answer is he'd get rid of him while he still had something left in the tank, right?
Well, we know he has something left in the tank, right?
Yeah, Lindor?
Yeah.
I don't see any diminishing skills there.
No, not yet.
Yeah, I mean, this one isn't I think this is a little different situation just because they have him at a somewhat reasonable price right now,
right,
given the market. So does it make sense to try to make if they're going to keep him for another year, then I think they should spend money to try to win a championship while he's here.
Right. People would accept that a lot more.
Yeah.
Well, let me go back further. And Andy mentioned it about the Marlins and the Atlanta Braves and the Chicago Cubs. If the Indians had pulled off a win in any of those, and clearly they could have in any of the 3, I mean, 1 6-game series and 2 7-gamers. If they had won one, would the perception, A, of the Dolans and B, of baseball itself be changed here, that people would accept certain things a little more than they do right now?
Yeah, I believe so. And I certainly think if it had happened as recently as 16, you know, they'd still be the beloved owners of the town.
Right.
And I mean, I still believe they came away a rain delay away from doing that. I've never seen anything quite like it. Of all the Cleveland moments, and I've only been here since '91, so I know you guys.
We didn't have any before.
I know
that.
you guys have suffered a lot before that, but of all the Cleveland moments, that felt like the one that really did get away.
Okay,
Andy,
so
which one, as a Cleveland Heights guy,
yes,
which one of those Cleveland moments hurt you the most?
There's too many of them right now. You know what? And maybe just because it's fresh in my mind after watching the show, looking at Jose Mesa blowing off Mike Hargrove when he was trying to change the pitch.
Why didn't Hargrove go out there and put an end to that?
Maybe because
he hadn't been out there
he didn't
once
see,
before.
yeah, and he didn't see a lot of time with Mesa on the mound, and Mesa was just so. I just wanted to punch him in the face when I was watching the show.
How come
because he kept saying, well, now all of a sudden the manager wants to call the pitch, and he hasn't done it all year.
How about Fernandez, who messed up a ground ball in that inning? He doesn't get enough discredit for that.
Because he didn't do it that much. I mean, that's like being mad at Ernest Biner for fumbling, knowing that how many yards he had in that game. So I will tell you the most Cleveland thing ever. You tell me. So if the Browns win this week, the Ravens win this week, the Texans win this week, and the Colts win this week, 7 of the 8 things that we needed to happen to make the playoffs will have happened.
And that 8th one was the Browns loss. Let's go to Mike as a fan. Mike Masetta, which one hurt you the most of all the bad Cleveland moments?
Oh, when the Indians were up 3-1 against the Yankees, and they had Lee and Sabathia back-to-back, and you had 2 Cy Young winners going back-to-back for you to win 1 game. That was probably the most hurtful for me. Especially because it was against New York, you know, and it was a chance. It wasn't the World Series, but had they have won that series, they would have been in the World Series, and they likely would have gone on to win. And so that, to me, that was one that hurt the most.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's just way too many.
There's too many. I started thinking about just all those times when I was a kid and not wanting to go to school the next week after losing an AFC championship and just being totally depressed like for the rest of the year.
Yeah,
Or the rest of your life.
Yes, or until LeBron.
I mean, the one that I was probably closest to was being down outside the clubhouse in '97 and trying to get down there because we thought they were going to win it, and watching Jacobs and those guys walk in and seeing as the doors opened, all the cellophane was over the lockers to protect them from the champagne.
Who was the baseball person who said, get that stuff down because it's a total bad luck to have
I
that?
don't remember that.
I remember Hammy in the show said that.
Yeah.
Right.
And Bobby D was sitting there. It's weird because you're outside the locker room in that shot. And first of all, Hammy and Bobby D look so young in that shot.
Yeah.
And then it is such bad luck.
And then to see the doors fly open and Jacob storm down the hall, and you just had the feeling that, once it went into extras. I don't know if any people know Charlie Nagy very well, but Charlie Nagy's one of the great guys that you'll ever work with. And I've had the occasion to have a beer or two with him in Rocky River.
And I guarantee he paid for the beer.
And he's a very quiet guy, yes. And
he will not let you buy beer.
You could sit with him all night, and if you didn't know who he was, he'd never mention that he was an athlete. And this guy walked up to him at one point and said, Charlie, I just want you to know that Game 7 in '97 was the worst damn night of my life. And Charlie took a sip, and he said, wasn't so good for me either.
Probably one of the best guys to ever wear a Cleveland
He's
uniform.
terrific.
Ever.
That was interesting for a lot of reasons, but I think you told me that, I think you were one of several who told me that you walk down, it's over, and Miami wins, and your fans couldn't name three guys on the Miami Marlins or Florida Marlins.
They had a big reception afterwards in this tent, and when you're past deadline, everybody goes down there to get something to eat and have a couple drinks, and there were Marlins fans running around who said, oh, wasn't that great? Who's our second baseman again? And that's when it really hit me. I was like, this would have meant so much more to people in Cleveland than it did to a transplanted fan base down there.
You mentioned, we both mentioned some of the nasty things that have happened. You've written all over the country. Is it true that there are just more bad things that fall into our laps than any other city?
Well, it feels like it. Now, I grew up in Philadelphia, and the famous thing there was that they had a 6.5 game lead with 12 to play in 1964 when only one team could make the playoffs, and they blew it. So, I mean, there was a lot of years of getting beat by the Cowboys. I'm sure every city has, the people of Buffalo have their stories to tell, right?
Well, that's one story that happened 4 times.
Yeah. But certainly the near jubilation that we almost experienced in this town in '97 and then in 2016, and then to have that just wrenched away that's really tough. And I wasn't here. I wasn't here in the '80s when the Browns were good. When I got here in 1991, I remember Tony Grossi pulling me aside and saying, "Wait till you see this town when the Browns are good again." And I thought, oh, okay, that'll be a couple of years.
Oh, sure.
So,
and we have
here
this
we
Belichick
are.
guy.
You know what? I think the book is on this deck as we close out the decade. How did LeBron change us as sports fans in everything, and how some things that we would have appreciated we don't. I think there's a lot. That instant success with LeBron doesn't happen. It doesn't happen very often anywhere in any sport at any time, and we got that instant success with him. And I wonder how that taints our view of not only, obviously, the Cavaliers, but the Browns and the Indians. I mean, do you ever remember being a kid? I don't know what it was like in Philadelphia, but if you had all these expectations for the Browns, no one ever thought it all the way through that they were going to win the Super Bowl. I don't think anyone ever thought it through. They're like, oh, my God, look at what this team is right now. We've got Bernie. This is great. We want them to get to the Super Bowl. We think they can be a Super Bowl team. But the letdown is different now. I don't know. It's just changed. It's almost like I say the same thing about Ohio State fans, too. When Jim Tressel won in 02, was it 02? Yeah, it was 02. And it changed Ohio State fans forever. Now, maybe there was a mixed combination of what the Browns were at the time and what fans were holding on to. But Ohio State fans significantly changed, and maybe college football did for that matter, after Ohio State won that championship.
Because they expected to win?
Yes,
after
because
that?
now they expect to win all the time.
In answer to the question that I posed to you, or you answered about not expecting to go to the Super Bowl. And I remember going to what turned out to be the drive. And I didn't, as the game is progressing, I'm not saying, come on, if they can just win this, they got it. And then Brian Brennan catches that pass, spins away, and goes for the touchdown, and puts them ahead with, 2 minutes left in the game, whatever. I think it was at the 5-minute mark. And then the drive started. They're at their own 2-yard line, and I'm saying, it's always really good, but he can't possibly take them 92 yards or 98 yards. And at that moment, I said, finally, we're going to the Super Bowl. And that, Bud used the word wrench, that got wrenched.
It did. And you know what's crazy is it's probably one of my favorite moments in my life when Brian Brennan made that catch. I don't even know if Brian knows this because I became friends with Brian later on when he got older because his kid played hockey for us when I was coaching high school. But I was on the field with my dad, and that happened right in front of us.
All right,
my dad was an electrician.
let's take a break. We're at Buffalo Wild Wings on Harvard Road. That's off I-271 in Warrensville Heights. Bud Shaw, WKYC.com, Andy Baskin, 92.3, and Nature Stone's Mike-Masetta. We're going to ask people to steal Mike's microphone for a minute. The people here at the Buffalo Wild Wings, if you have a comment to add or a question, come on up to Mike wave so we know where. Go ahead. There you go. That's where you want to go if you want to get on. More Sports and Les-Levine continues in a moment, brought to you in part by Northeast Factory Direct, as well as Sokolowski's University. And I've been talking every day for about, 25, 26 years about Mike and Bernie Sokolowski's restaurant. Everybody raves about it. The Food and Wine periodical, the head of the business there, named them the second best cafeteria-style food in the country. Also the winner of the James Beard Foundation Award, only 5 in the country get it each and every year. We'll come on back. We'll take a break. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Get your garage ready for the holidays.
We had some cracks in the floor. We needed to enhance the beauty of it. That's when we called Nature Stone.
Nature Stone corrects uneven concrete, so you don't have to worry about tripping or slipping. And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, you will never have to replace your garage floor again. For a limited time, get Nature Stone installed now and pay nothing until next year. Payments as low as $99 a month. No interest, no down payment. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Presque Isle Downton Casino now has sports betting. Use one of the 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet. Then watch your favorite games on our new HD televisions or visit our new sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downton Casino.
Welcome back. We are at Buffalo Wild Wings on Harvard at I-271. More Sports and Les-Levine in its 24th consecutive year. Bud Shaw with us, WKYC.com, Andy Baskin, 92.3. And a familiar face and voice to people who've been watching or listening to More Sports and Les-Levine. Who's that guy over there?
Chuck from Majory, Les.
He's going to rip me to no end now.
Go get him, Chuck.
All right, Chuck. Let's have at it.
You made a comment about what's your worst thing that's happened in your life as a Tribe. Les, I hate to say this, it's depressing to be a Cleveland fan, but everything since 1948 has been a depressing thing to me.
One thing,
everything.
wrap it up in a ball?
Yeah. Well, then you talk about the Browns, Les. I've always told you before, you have that band until it's time for the draft in April. And I've told you need to switch that around. You need to have the ban during the season and then talk about the draft anytime.
All right, so you got that. We cannot talk about the Browns during the season, but starting January 15th, it's all systems go.
But all seriousness, my question is a baseball question. As you know, Les, that's mine and your favorite sport. You just talked about they signed the second baseman for
Hernandez.
$6 million,
Yeah.
and they gave up 17-18 for Kluber.
Right.
That left about $12 million, which could have fit Encarnacion or somebody like that. Do you
Right.
anticipate the Indians signing someone for that amount of money, which in the past they never have?
Yeah, I'd be surprised if they don't. I don't know who we're talking about. Maybe it's a right fielder, a right-handed power hitter. I think they got enough starting pitching. I agree with Andy. You never know about the bullpen. Do you guys anticipate spending some of the money they came out ahead
Well,
with?
I mean, they said they were doing it to reinvest in the team.
Right.
Now, they didn't put any time frame on that, and that's what would worry me.
Does that mean making a run at Lindor? That was one of the things I thought about when they.
Well, that's only 2 years worth of that money.
Yeah, but you take that money, you put it in the bank, you let the interest grow. You go out and buy some stuff, maybe put it in 401. Well, you can't put it in 401k. I'm just trying to figure out a way. Sell 16 bags of peanuts, and then maybe you still have enough for Lindor when it's all said.
All right, it's a deal. You'd like to have a scoop here.
I mean, that was the optimistic Indians fan of me. I was like, well, maybe they're trying to save some money to give Lindor a real chance to stay. I'm not buying it. I don't believe what I'm saying.
Here's the other thing. You mentioned possibly selling the team before, and we're not breaking news here, but there have been some indications that they might be interested in doing that. Wouldn't it be smarter, and Bud, you already said you don't know the finances, and neither do we, but doesn't it seem smarter, if you're going to sell the team, to have Lindor on board, even if it's at an overprice, because it makes him more valuable to the potential buyer?
If the potential buyer is willing to have a top payroll in the league, and that's what we don't know. You know, I mean, the difference, and whenever I mention stuff like this, it sounds like I'm making excuses for the Dolans, and I don't mean to. But you know, the local TV money in this market is just, I don't know, what is it, like $40 million a year or something like that, and in LA it's $300 million a year.
Right.
I mean, so you know, there clearly are some disadvantages, but we've seen good teams in mid markets before, and I think they're still positioned to be a good team and get to the playoffs if they take some of that Kluber money and invest it in this team while Lindor is here.
Yeah. The other part about the money, you know, it's like you think about it, the Indians tried to start their own network so they could generate more money, and then when it was all said and done, they went back and said, no, you know what, we're going to go back to Fox.
Well, they did get a
here.
pretty good surge of money at that point.
Yeah, they did, but it was limited, and then you were also making, I can't remember, I can't remember if that surge of money was lasting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Did it have legs to it?
Right. Then it wasn't going to be it was a big hit.
Was it just Encarnacion, or where was it? You know.
Yeah, it wasn't going to be every year though. Chuck, anything else on the?
Yeah.
Indians?
What about the Kipnis money that they're saving too?
Yeah. Well,
no, I mean you make a good
13
point.
million. What, 13 million?
Yeah. Now
Kipnis?
some of these guys, when Lindor is going to arbitration, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Clevenger too, or
I don't know about Clevenger.
Do you guys know?
I can't remember if Clevenger going.
Come on, Mike.
I don't think so.
Hang on. Let me ask Mike.
You're going to ask Chuck from Masery?
I don't think so.
There's your answer. Yeah.
So I mean, some of that, I know some they could probably try to justify it by saying, well, we're going to, you know, we're using that Kluber money and Kipnis money to pay guys their raises for next year, but that's not. I don't think that's fair to the fan base right now, especially coming off a year when you didn't make the playoffs. I think they need to make a run at it, and I wasn't against the Kluber deal because I just don't know how much he has left.
Well, but they didn't really get anything at this.
No,
to our
I
knowledge,
think they
didn't get anything.
Yeah, I mean they got a fourth outfielder, right? And I mean nobody's going to say
Delino-deshields.
wow. They might say wow, it's Nature Stone. They're not going to say wow, it's Delino-deshields. But they do have I think they at least found a guy who could figure into the back end of the bullpen who does one very special thing, even though he's not a top-rated prospect in that organization. But you could throw 100 miles an hour in the back end of the bullpen, you're going to find a job.
Yeah.
I do think that's an interesting play with the trade, too. Bring in a middle reliever that can throw over 100 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And what is that going to mean with the rule change of having to face 3 batters? A lot of things I've been reading, you know, I'm kind of worried about it, and I think it's going to it could it hurt Tito or not hurt Tito? But I think when it's all said and done, it might be right up there with the clock in the outfield. You just don't notice it.
Is that definite that it's going to be the 3 hitters?
That's what it is right
Yeah.
now.
Is it? Okay.
He was not happy.
And you know Francona doesn't like it.
Yeah.
Chuck, thanks so much. There you go. Hello, there you are, Chuck from Mazer. We appreciate it very much. You can voice your opinion on the voicemail of Truth and Reason. All you have to do is call in at the number you see right there and leave us a message. We will get back to you as soon as we can and put it on the air. That's the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Northfield Park, your home for live and simulcast racing. You can see where they have live racing with the post time of 6 p.m. and it's free admission, free parking every day at Northfield Park. We're coming back one more time. Mike-Masetta with us, so is Andy Baskin, and Bud Shaw. More Sports and Les-levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Get your basement ready for the holidays.
We had a horrible storm that flooded our basement.
We had to take out that nasty moldy carpet.
And we never want to have to go through that again. That's when we called Nature's Stone.
And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, you will never have to replace your basement flooring again. For a limited time, get Nature's Stone installed now and pay nothing until next year. Payments as low as $99 a month. No interest, no down payment. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature's Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Presque Isle, the place to go if you want sports betting. They've got it in Pennsylvania, and it's only 90 minutes from downtown Cleveland at Presque Isle in Erie. Also, we've got Facebook at facebook.com, the place to check out our show and some of the features we have on it. New content posted each and every day, and your comments and your words about whatever you're thinking about, you can see them right there at facebook.com. We're going to want to wrap things up first. We're going to go to Gary. Gary, hello.
Hey, Les. Hey, guys.
Hey, Gary.
But I'm going to come after you on one.
Oh, here we go. This isn't about the Athletic, is it?
No.
Okay.
No. It's about the Indians. In fact, I'm going to take the position of Paul Dolan.
Okay, Paul, how are you?
They're called quickies, though. I want you to know.
You look good.
It's going to be quick. All right. So, we go down to these games. We have the 20-game season ticket package. We're down there on a beautiful summer night, weekdays, 20,000 people there. What is Paul Dolan supposed to do in putting a team together financially viable for long-term sustainability when this is no longer a baseball town? What does he do?
I'm going to let Les-levine deal with that because he disagrees with you strenuously.
Well, I think what he does is
You're the one that talks about how the attendance goes up every summer late in the year.
Doesn't it?
Right?
If they're in the race?
I'll make another argument. But the Indians, except for the times, and if you go back and look at attendance throughout the years, the times when the Indians are in contention and can win a World Series, and it's a little bit off right now, the attendance has been there. But look at all the other years; they're not there.
Andy, they're bottom of the barrel.
I know.
Because they don't have a chance.
My point is that we're not a baseball town. We really have never been one. We were in the 90s.
I
And I'm
agree.
not trying to, and that's...
You can't possibly draw in April and May in Cleveland. I don't care how good the team is. But if they're hot in mid-May, people will come out. That's,
Well, I got to tell you, I think you're wrong because I'm down there and there's 20,000 people there on a beautiful summer night, a weekday, but 20,000 people on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Well, then you see Paul Dolan's problem.
Well, that's right. So what does he do? He trades Lindor, and he tries to keep the competitiveness on a long-term basis. They're threading the needle. That's what it is.
Well,
yeah,
maybe.
I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying that while you have Lindor, are you not going to spend while you have Lindor?
Well, you should go hand in hand.
I disagree with you on that. You got to maximize your asset. You know, you see what's happened to Cavaliers. They maximize their assets during that 4-year run, and they're going to stink forever.
Okay, they had LeBron James at that point. The Cleveland Indians don't have that luxury of having the best player in the game, as the Cleveland Cavaliers did. But you look at what the Cavaliers have done outside of LeBron James, even with ownership of Dan Gilbert. You see what the Browns have done under whatever's been running that thing, and people are ripping Paul Dolan every chance they get. I don't get that. That isn't fair.
Well, you know, if you want to go back to the days of Manny Acta and, you know, those garbage days, then, you know, play it out, let Lindor leave, and you'll have a team of garbage. Maybe you'll have some good pitchers, but, you know, that's really going to kill baseball in Cleveland.
Okay, Gary, thank you very much. I get the argument.
I do too. I agree with. I mean, I'm listening to what he's saying. I don't know what Paul Dolan, in some circumstances, is supposed to do. And again, I say, be careful. Be careful who could come in and buy the team and what could happen next. And maybe that's just the fear of the Browns moving in.
Is it correct, according to Forbes and a couple of others? I think Cranes has published it. Are we talking about $1.2 billion for that franchise?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess, are you guys suggesting that they're losing money?
No baseball team is losing money.
I don't think they are. I just, it's how they're spending their money. I don't think they're making as much money as other owners, but I don't know why. Why can't the Indians hang into a guy like Lindor? Why do we have to be?
All teams have that problem.
Yeah, but they don't have to.
The big markets have it.
But the game is set up to have owners that you don't have to have that. Like people always say, and this is going to be a big mystery, you know, wondering on what Dan Gilbert's health was. What if Dan Gilbert had the Indians? I know a lot of people always want to say that. What would the Indians look like if Dan Gilbert
put a lot of money into it, I can tell you that. All right, that'll do it for us on a Thursday night. We'll be back here to do it again tomorrow night. Bud Shaw, WKYC.com, Andy Baskin, 92.3 The Fan, and Mike Masetta from Nature Zone. Wow. Thanks, guys. All right, that'll do it for us for now. Back tomorrow night of all the shows I've ever done. This was the most recent.